Yes, well, we hope so, right? Y'all ready to get started? Yes, sir. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and being on time. Those of you that have dealt with me before know that I don't want to go too fast that you don't have an opportunity to express your concerns, but I know how busy everyone is, so welcome. I will try to get us through a very robust agenda here as soon as possible. Some preliminary remarks. I want to continue to reiterate how thankful I am for you all and for Justice Namias and for your support of Justice Namias and the initiatives that the Judicial Council has been pursuing over the last several years, going back to Justice Melton as well. So thank you for your support of the chair and hopefully your support of me. I reiterate what I said during my investiture, that my goal is to support each of you in your efforts to improve the administration of justice in your respective courts. So please call on me as necessary, and I'll do what I can to try to help you. A couple of housekeeping reminders before we get too far along into our agenda. If you're a guest, please make sure that you've signed the book at the beginning. I think everyone's done that, but please make sure. If you are on Zoom, please send emails so that we can have a record for our minutes of the attendance. The meeting here today is being recorded, both audio and visual. It's also being live streamed, and it's open, of course, to the press and to the public. Reminder that you all, many of you know, but during voting items, we're only going to be calling for opposition only to provide a little smoother process. Please be sure to speak into your microphones, both at the table and in the audience, but be advised they are extremely sensitive and will be on for the duration of the meeting. Everybody clear? With that, I want to welcome some new members to the Judicial Council, and I'm going to have them stand and as possible, and let's get everybody sworn in. I also know that Judge Booth is here for Judge Blanchard. So Judge Booth is the member. I'm sorry, Judge Booth is here. I'm sorry. Thank you. So yeah, let's have the oath administered at this time, if you will. If you'll raise your right hands and repeat after me.
So this would be new members of the Judicial Council or their designees.
So let me go through the list and make sure we've got the right folks. Justice McMillan, Judge Stewart, Chief Judge, well now Judge Booth. We've got Judge Morse, Judge John Edwards, Judge Lindsey Burton, Judge Brandon Bryson, Judge Danielle McRae, Judge Matt McCord for a second time around because he couldn't get enough, and Sally Akins. So if you'll raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a member of the Judicial Council of Georgia, according to the best of my ability and understanding, that as a member of the Judicial Council, I will endeavor to improve the administration of justice in this state for the benefit of the public as well as the bench and bar. That I will strive to improve the judicial system of this state as a whole, as well as in its parts. And that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Georgia. So help me God. You may be seated. Thank you all very much. I want to welcome other judges attending as designees for absent members. Chief Judge Rusty Smith is here for Tim Hamill. We also have Judge Quinn Casper here for Rebecca Pitts. Justice McMillan is here on behalf of Presiding Justice Nels Peterson, who was unable to be here today, and Judge Booth is here. So thank you all for being here. We also have some special guests that I want to acknowledge at this time. Chief judges and others that are here with us today that will be speaking later and here to present in support of judgeship recommendations. Thank you all for being here. Judge Sharika Barnes from the Office of State Administrative Hearings, Chairman and Representative Chuck Istration. Mr. Chairman, thank you always for being with us and for your support of our initiatives. Brock Perry, the Attorney Analyst for the House Judiciary Committee, is here with us today. Chairman and Senator Brian Strickland, another ardent supporter of the things that we're all engaged in. Senator Strickland, thank you for being here. Judge Bill Hamrick. Where's Judge Hamrick? Is he here?
There he is.
Judge Hamrick, thank you for being with us. Former Superior Court judge, incoming Georgia State Business Court judge who was recently nominated to take over for our good friend Walt Davis. Judge Hamrick, welcome, and thank you for being with us today. And Judge Fatimata Jallo is here. Judge Jallo is a senior magistrate from Gambia, currently visiting Georgia's courts as part of the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program. The AOC is proud to host her, so Judge, thank you. She's in the back. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you. All right, next, moving on, the introduction of Judicial Council members and the guest roll call. Let's go around the room, starting with Justice McMillan.
Hi, I'm Carla McMillan, sitting in for Justice Peterson.
Brian Rickman, Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals.
Amanda Mercier, Vice Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals.
Walt Davis, Georgia Statewide Business Court.
Sally Akins, President of the State Bar of Georgia.
Art Smith, President of the Council of Superior Court Judges and Superior Court Judge in the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit.
Johnny Morris Jr., President-elect of the Superior Court Judges Council.
Render Hurd, President of the Council of Juvenile Court Judges and Juvenile Court Judge in the Tipton Judicial Circuit.
Lindsey Burton, President-elect of the Council of Juvenile Court Judges and Chief Judge for the Northeastern Judicial Circuit.
Jay Stewart, I'm Superior Court Judge in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit and Administrative Judge for the First District.
Sarah Wall, Chief Judge for the Oconee Judicial Circuit and Administrative Judge for the 8th Judicial District.
Robert Flournoy, and I'm the Superior Court Judge for Cobb County and the 7th Judicial Administrative District, AJ, Administrative Judge.
Joe Booth, I'm the Chief Judge in the Piedmont Circuit and the Administrative Judge in the 10th.
I'm Rusty Smith. I'm the Chief Judge of the Mountain Circuit, and I'm sitting in for Judge Hamill, who's the 9th District Administrative Judge.
John Edwards, I'm President-elect of the Council of State Court Judges from Lowndes County.
I'm Vi Bennett. I'm President of the Council of State Court Judges, and I'm State Court Judge in still God's country. Way down.
I'm Matt McCord. I'm President-elect of the Council of Municipal Court Judges.
Good morning, Jadanya Baker, President of the Council of Municipal Court Judges, and I sit at the Atlanta Municipal Court, and I would like to acknowledge our Vice President who's here with us today, Judge David Will.
I'm Fletcher Sams, Chief Judge of the Griffin Judicial Circuit and Administrative Judge for the 6th District.
Danielle McRae, I'm the President-elect for Probate Judges Council.
Hi, Sean Rhodes. I'm the President of the Probate Judges Council.
James Sizemore, I'm a judge in the Southwestern Judicial Circuit in the 3rd District, AJ.
Melanie Cross, I'm Judge in the Tipton Judicial Circuit and Administrative Judge for the 2nd Judicial District.
I'm Chris Brasher, Chief Judge in the Superior Court of Fulton County and 5th JAD.
Good morning, everybody. Asha Jackson. I'm Chief Judge of the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit and 4th District Administrative Judge.
Good morning. I'm Brandon Bryson. I'm President-elect for the Council of Magistrate Court Judges and Chief Magistrate Judge of Bartow County.
Good morning, Quinn Casper, Magistrate in Cobb County. I am sitting in for our President, Chief Judge Rebecca Pitts from Butts County, and I am the Council of Magistrate Court Judges immediate past president.
Tracy Mason with Judicial Council Administrative Office of the Courts.
Good morning, Cynthia Clanton, Director of Judicial Council AOC. Thank you for being here this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm, again, Mike Boggs. I serve as Chief Justice and Chair of the Judicial Council. Also, we have another guest that I failed to mention, Brent Churchwell, who is in charge of the Senate Budget Evaluation Office. So, Brent, wherever you are, thank you for being with us, Brent, and welcome. At this time, I'm going to ask Chief Judge Brian Rickman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. The flag is over here. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Judge Rickman.
Give me something I can't mess up.
Well, you never know. You never know. All right, at this time, you have the minutes from our prior meeting that are at tab 1, and I would entertain a motion to adopt those minutes.
Motion to adopt.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any opposed to the adoption of the minutes as presented? There being no objection, the minutes are adopted unanimously.
Thank you, Chief.
You got that? All right, we're fortunate today. We've asked David Amati with the Georgia Government Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission, a mouthful, we commonly refer to as the Ethics Commission, to come and present to us today. I didn't see David, but I'm sure he's here somewhere. He's over, well, I see him now. David, welcome, and please come forward. David is going to update us on the recent passage of Senate Bill 120, which imposed some filing requirements that I think you should all be aware of, and we're going to ask him to give us a brief update on the new e-filing system as well. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Chief, and thank you all for having me. Such an austere group, and then I saw Brian Strickland was here, so I guess. No, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. I feel like historically when I come, I bring bad news, so today I'm bringing good news, right? And credit where it's due to Senator Strickland and Chairman F. Stration, who helped carry SB 120 that we passed after 2 years of work in the last legislative session. SB 120 was an omnibus ethics reform bill, but a couple components of that I want you all to know about. I know there's been frustration in the past over this affidavit of public officer that everyone has to file just by way of being elected. And really the intent of that affidavit was for individuals on councils who take votes that affect policy that change councils and change the results of bodies, councils, authorities, et cetera, to fill that affidavit. Now, as judges, you become members of state court, superior court, magistrate, probate, et cetera, councils just by being elected. And that really gobbled up a lot of people that wasn't really the intent of that requirement. So what we've done, what Brian and Chuck and the legislature have helped us do is now, if you file a personal financial disclosure report, which covers basically the same information, you now can waive that affidavit. You don't have to file it. So to all the judges here, to all the judges listening, to your judges in your circuits, go ahead and pass that along. The affidavit of public officer is no longer required. Additionally, if you serve on councils, authorities, which, you know, the chief serves on like 37 of them, you don't have to fill out that affidavit either. So the financial disclosure report waives that requirement, and moving forward, that's no longer something you'll have to worry about. There are a couple other things I wanted to briefly mention. I'm sure some of you saw in the daily report some ethics fines that were assessed against statewide candidates. I think the daily report ran one, and I think Senator Jordan was sort of the highlight of it. I wanted to address that. Part of 120 changed statewide candidates and public officers' personal financial disclosure reports. That, however, does not apply to judges and justices. That applies only to partisan officials. So I know we've got a lot of questions about, you know, is this something that we have an enhanced disclosure that's changed? It does not affect y'all. Your financial disclosure reports remain what they were previously. So that's the same. I spoke last week at the Superior Court Judges Conference, and we did a little tutorial on the new e-filing system. I've been here at Ethics for about 3.5 years. Prior to that, I was a prosecutor for 7. What I've learned in those 11 years is I know judges love change, right? Y'all love change and new technology. What I'd say to any of you using the new e-filing system, it's better a year, 2 years, 3 years. Eventually, you're going to agree with me. In the interim, if you're having problems, let us know. This is not a gotcha game. It's not a gimmick. We will have tutorials. We'll go out to you. We'll show you sort of the nuance of it. And if you have any issues with it, just reach out to us and we will help you get familiar and assimilated to it. Lastly, as part of 120, we have raised maximum contribution limits for both local, county, state judges, and for statewide officials. You can find those updated numbers on our website, ethics.ga.gov, which we've also overhauled recently. And we will now be moving to a system where we update those only after every gubernatorial election. So we're going to have some consistency with how we do that now, and that'll be easy information for you to find. But again, Chief, thank you for having me, and happy to answer any questions afterwards.
Thank you, David. We appreciate the update. I know that when the story hit concerning the increased public disclosure requirements, that I got a lot of calls from judges as to whether that requirement in Senate Bill 120 applied to nonpartisan judges. So I'm glad we've cleared that up. The duplicative filing requirements of public officer affidavits, if you're also filing a financial disclosure, are now cleared up as well. So we appreciate that. Did anyone have any questions? If you want to ask a question of David.
Chief, I'll stick around till after.
All right. Well, thank you. We appreciate that, that clarity. With that, now we're going to move to Judicial Council Committee reports. They can be found in the materials in your binders. The ARPA Funding Committee, which I chair, is found, is a written report. It's found in, on tab number 2. I'll give you just a couple of highlights. Overall, in calendar year 2022, the committee awarded grants to 42 of 50 circuits for a total of $44,147,105. That amount represents almost 46% of the total allocation that the governor's office and OPB allocated to the AOC to distribute to your respective courts. To date, we have actually reimbursed $2.3 million roughly to those circuits, which is a very significant amount of what's been asked to be reimbursed up to this point. My committee will meet again later this month on August the 26th to have an administrative meeting in preparation for our calendar year 23 applications. Those applications will be open from September 15th through September 30th. So if your circuits are interested in applying for calendar year 2023 ARPA funds, know that you're probably going to have some additional reporting requirements on the application relative to circuits that have received grants, what you've done with that money, and what progress you've seen in moving your caseload backlogs, including serious violent felony caseload backlogs. So just know September 15 through September 30 is the open application period. Please go to the website and take a look at what will be, I hope, after August 26th administrative meeting, a new form and application for you to fill out. So I submit that written report for your consideration, and now would call on Judge Doyle from the Court of Appeals to present our second item from the Budget Committee. Good morning, Judge.
Hello, everyone. I am here on behalf of Charlie Bethel to report to you about the Budget Committee and the upcoming requests for enhancement in our fiscal year 2023, the amended budget, and then the 2024. You were given a big stack of documents online. I highly encourage you to read through them. It's very informative, goes into a lot of detail about how these requests were submitted to the Budget Committee. There's a lot of detail that everyone provides before it's analyzed and then submitted to you all. So the first thing is in fiscal year 2023, the amended budget, and then going forward in 2024, the Judicial Council, the Georgia Courts Automated Data Collection Project, is asking for a total of $70,000 in the amended. That would be a $50,000 one-time fee that deals with developer services to build upon and expand current capabilities, plus a $20,000 amount to go forward with increased data storage and web service support. The purpose of this is to help the Judicial Council expand the amount of data that it can collect. And it says by 15 times what it can currently collect, which creates a more comprehensive picture of the amount of cases that move through the judicial branch. You have more timely data being able to be provided on a quarterly reporting system as opposed to just yearly, and it would seek to automate the collection of data. In fiscal year 24, there is a $20,000 enhancement request associated with that, and that again is the ongoing fees. Moving on to the next is the Institute of Continuing Judicial Education has asked for in fiscal year 23 $71,377, and in fiscal year 24 $156,280, and this goes to a salary adjustment request for the it's one of their training assistant positions, and apparently last year everyone got a $5,000 raise except for this position. And so they're trying to true it up so that they're all paid equally and that they can be able to recruit moving forward. And then they also, the rest of the remaining money would go towards the operational budget itself, and which is currently not receiving money from the state. And so that would just be able to help it continue its operations and to continue to help educate all of the different classes of judges that need it. Okay, the next item, number 3, fiscal year 24 only. This is the big budget, is a request from the the Administrative Office of the Courts for $228,924. This covers the salaries, benefits for two positions, a policy counsel position and a policy coordinator position. Policy counsel position would be $85,000 plus fringe benefits. Person would be tasked with leading the necessary research and policy developments associated with the Judicial Council's many committees. Policy coordinator position would start out at $50,000 plus benefits and would provide logistical and project management support to the AOC. This is primarily driven by the fact that your senior people over at the AOC are overworked. There was a time where they had to cut a lot out of their budget, as I recall, a few years back, and had to streamline positions, and I think this is an effort to try to get back to where they were, to make them more effective in how they help. I have served on a lot of these committees, as have many of you over the years, and they work tirelessly. You know, at the end of the day, we sit there and we smile, and Andrew Zoll put this together for me. So, you know, there's somebody sitting behind you doing all the work, and that's what these people are. So hopefully these two positions would help them to smooth that out a little bit more. Okay, the next slide item is fiscal year 24 as well, and this is the Standing Committee on Access to Justice is asking for $500,000 to implement a grant program for legal self-help centers. The Access to Justice Committee has estimated that there are currently 10 counties in the state without access to a lawyer. There are 25 to 30 counties that have less than 10 lawyers. And they have estimated that there are at least 1.1 million pro se litigants. And so this has been kind of being studied. I know that there is a really good self-help center and library down in Albany that it really does a good job. And they're trying to, I think, help improve the access. So when a pro se person comes in, they are getting the forms that they need. And so this would help fund and cover services for full-time or part-time, what they call legal navigators. They are non-lawyers who help these citizens. I don't think they're giving legal advice, but they're just basically, you know, helping the person to say, okay, you want a divorce? Well, here's a divorce form, those kind of things, to help streamline the process, to help the judges in the courtrooms who are dealing with the pro se litigants. Okay, the next item is also fiscal year 24. This is the Supreme Court Committee on Justice for Children, the Civil Legal Services to Families of Indigent Patients. They're asking for $619,000, and this is to implement a grant program, primarily, I think, to help support what they call MLPs, Medical Legal Partnerships, who help combine people with healthcare experience and the lawyers to improve the health of indigent patients. And there is currently a group called HELP, that's an MLP that works with Atlanta Legal Aid, Georgia State, and Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. In 2020 and 2021, that group handled 1,212 cases, which resulted in over 2 million of measurable outcomes, including 400,000 gained from education services that were provided, nearly 420,000 in Social Security benefits, and nearly 200,000 in health care benefits, along with more money. And I think the biggest thing is trying to get moving these patients from uncompensated to compensated care. And so this is that request. The next request, Council of Accountability Court Judges, and this is for fiscal year 24, is asking for $97,331. And this is to ensure the continued funding of the statewide Medication-Assisted Treatment, or MAT coordinator position. It is currently funded through a grant through September 30th of 2023, and this is a position that we would like to keep going. This helps conduct research, technical assistance through the courts throughout the state, in an effort to deal with this programming. And there was an example in the main materials that lists all of the counties who do not have, 20% of Georgia's adult accountability courts do not have accessibility to these MAT services, about 33 of them. And you can see the full list in the materials. And so this would be to help an effort to get more access. Apparently there is a lawsuit mentioned in the materials up against the Pennsylvania court system for discriminating against individuals and their programs who were utilizing certain types of medication. And so you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing within your accountability court, and this will help do that. So those are all of the requests that are in with respect to enhancements. The last 2 pages of the information in this tab really gives you a summary of where we were in fiscal year 2023, moving into the amended budget, which is essentially just a 0.73% increase with the $141,000 approximately they're asking for. And then in fiscal year 2024, it's about $1.6 million that's requested, which is about an 8.42% increase. So what we are asking today is that we move the committee to approve the budget, but what I do understand is there's a qualifier which deals with the fact that we recently, the governor, the executive branch, put out a kind of an edict to everyone to say, hold the line, don't ask for any more money in fiscal year 2024. So we would like you to approve these as the top amounts that would be asked for, with the idea that these numbers might be reduced in some form or fashion as seen fit by the Budget Committee in conjunction with the Chief Justice.
Thank you, Judge. Questions of Judge Dole concerning the amended 23 and fiscal year 24 proposed budgets of the Judicial Council? Any questions whatsoever? We've got a lot of materials there, but I think she covered everything very appropriately. We've got several requests. They are subject to change. We just yesterday got the governor's budget guidance, and so as we're going through that and trying to decide how that will affect our request, we will. This is obviously subject to change, and we will vote after we vote on the budget on giving the committee the authority to act, as we always do. I'm former chair of that committee. The Judicial Council budget has a lot of things in it, including the JQC, including these grant programs, including ICJE. We have a lot of programs, grant programs as well, including Kinship Care, which you're all familiar with, that got funded a couple of years ago. So the Judicial Council budget also includes the AOC naturally, and so there are a lot of things in that budget that are very important to the integrity and continuation of good services from our courts. So I would encourage your favorable consideration of the proposed amended fiscal year 23 and full fiscal year 24 budgets. Is there a motion that they be accepted as proposed? Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion of the proposed budgets? Any questions? Hearing none, is there any opposition? They are approved as presented. Lastly, let me ask on behalf of Judge Dole for a motion to give the committee authority to act in the instances where that is necessary to amend some of these proposed budget items as we gain more information.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions, any further discussion, any opposition? The authority to act is approved as well. Next, we will move to item
Chief
C.
Justice, can I do one thing?
Sure.
Which is, I have a strategic planning report. It's in the books. There's
Okay.
nothing to say other than we're going to keep working, and so I'm done for the day, and may I be excused.
So what you're asking is to get out of here early? Well, never let it be said that the Supreme Court stands in the way of the Court of Appeals. So, item I on your agenda, which is tab 10, is the Strategic Plan Committee written report. It's submitted for your review. There are no action items. You got what I guess you would call a status update just then, and that item is approved. So, thank you, Judge Dole. Enjoy your weekend. All right, now back to item C on the agenda, which is a report from the Judicial Salaries and Supplements Committee. It is found, the materials are found on tab 4. We have a written report, and Judge Rusty Smith, who serves on that committee, along with Andrew Zoll and Tracy Mason, are available to answer any questions. Judge, you want to just present the written materials?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions? It is presented, and there are no action items. Next, I'm going to call on Judge Rickman, who is willing to stick around and talk about the Legislation Committee materials, which you can find at tab 5. Judge?
Thank you, everybody. I'm here on behalf of Justice Peterson, who couldn't be here. The Legislation Committee met on July 20th to begin preparing for the 2023 session of our General Assembly. No new proposals presented for action. Each council shared updates. Vice Chief Mercier gave a report on the court reporting legislation. that legislation. Everybody involved is working very diligently. There are a lot of issues, as you can imagine, with technology, but I'm very proud of those folks. They're working hard and still continuing to discuss that as a standing committee. We have one action item similar to what Chief Justice Boggs mentioned for the budget. As you know, as our legislators who are kind enough to be here know, when the legislative committee is working during the session, it is more often the case than not that you cannot reconvene the entire Judicial Council to take a position so that we can give our feedback to our legislators who are kind enough to work with us. So we have one action item, which would be the committee requests approval to make decisions or take positions on legislation and related policy issues on behalf of the Judicial Council during the 2023 legislative session when time constraints prevent the convening of the full Judicial Council, and we would need, this has always happened before, and we would need a motion and a vote for that.
Well done, thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion.
We got a motion, is there a second? Is there any discussion? Any questions? Any opposed? The authority to act is approved. Thank you, Chief Judge Rick.
Excellent. There'll be two more meetings, Mr. Chief Justice, September 22nd and Thursday, November 17th. Please share information with Justice Peterson, myself, or Tracy Mason on any new things that are being kicked around. And as a reminder, we have a wonderful collaborative effort between classes of courts, even when legislation may not seem to affect but one class of courts. What I can tell you I have learned in my short time is that everything we all do affects everybody else, whether we see that or not. And I've learned that through mistakes by stumbling into things that I wasn't aware of. So keep the lines of communication open, and thank you all.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate that, Chief. Let me add one additional note to the Legislation Committee, which I've also chaired in the past, and remind everyone, because the Chief just mentioned this idea that, anything you do might affect other classes of court. We do have a policy at the Judicial Council that if you're going to have legislation that affects you think you're only your court, it is still helpful to let us know. Because we obviously get asked oftentimes as the Supreme Court and myself when I'm across the street either with the budget or other items, we get asked whether we support those items or not. The policy really is that if you drop a bill or you want a bill dropped that has not gone through the process of the Legislation Committee, A, that you let us know about it, and B, that if it's going to affect other classes of courts and you know that, you let us know. Not because we have veto authority, but it is important that we all speak with one voice. We all kind of strategize and make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. So I would encourage you to remember that policy and that doing one-offs and doing things that we don't know about always makes things difficult for myself and for the Legislation Committee. So anything you can do to let us know would be appreciated. Thank you, Judge. Next, we're going to move to item E. It's going to take us a little while, but let's move to item E on the agenda, which is the report from the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee, and Judge Leonard is here. Judge, welcome, and you and Jeffrey and others, I think, are here to answer questions and to present several action items.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. My name's Rob Leonard. I have the privilege of being the chair of everybody's favorite standing committee of the Judicial Council, JWAC, as it's known, Judicial Workload Assessment Committee. I want to recognize my vice chair, Rusty Smith, and also staff, Jeffrey Thorpe and Stephanie Hines, for all of your hard work. Today, we've got a couple of action items. The first one, if you'll turn over to tab 6, is a pretty non-controversial update to the statistical guide for caseload reporting, and it all concerns juvenile court disposition definitions. You can see those on the slide. We're bringing the unit of count in line with the uniform rules of juvenile court. And then the other change, a couple of pages over, and the next slide is going to be the traffic dispositions. So those passed out of committee. I would ask that you all take that as a motion from the committee to approve those changes to the statistical guide.
Let's take that item first. So is any questions concerning the update to the disposition definitions for our juvenile courts as proposed and as found in the materials under tab 6? Any questions? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Any opposition? That is approved unanimously.
All right.
Next, moving on.
The next item, I'm sure no one here is interested in, is the committee did receive reports based on the based on the caseload analysis and the chief judges of the circuits that requested new judgeships. All three of those circuits qualified and received a unanimous vote out of judicial workload assessment. Those are Augusta, Daugherty, and Douglas counties. I want to remind everybody here that there are also what I will call, for lack of a better word, holdover recommendations, previous circuits that have qualified. And I want to point out to everyone that JWAC, we're agnostic in the way that we present. We just list everybody alphabetically. You all get the fun responsibility of getting to rank them. So you'll see the data. Jeffrey is here to take a deeper dive into the data for each of those circuits. To the extent in your materials on the memorandum, you see down at the bottom that the holdover counties are listed not alphabetically. Those are listed in the order that Judicial Council ranked them last time. So for the circuits that did not get approved, did not make it through the General Assembly, those are the ones. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Thorpe and let him make his presentation on the circuits.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on the fun project that my office and staff have to do called the judgeships. So this year, as Judge Leonard said, we had 3 requesting judge circuits. That was Augusta, Daugherty, and Douglas. You can see that their values are listed there. Augusta at 1.4, Daugherty at 1.8, and Douglas at 1.2. First up, we're going to talk about Augusta. As we said before, we are going to do everything in alphabetical order. Augusta Judicial Circuit is consisting of 2 counties now, Burke and Richmond counties. They currently have 5 judges. Their population is about, and we say about because of just estimates from the census data, 232,112. The last time that circuit received a judgeship was in 2002, and that is also considering when it was also consisting of Columbia County. The average workload for judges is about 1,777 cases per judge, and as I said before, the workload value is a 1.4. If you look at the population, we just do this just to kind of give you a rounded view of how things are changing in the circuit without going into details over generalized demographics. So you see just a slight population change within the Augusta Judicial Circuit of roughly about 1.28% increase in overall population. That is also above the Superior Court Circuit average population per courts and also the general average population per county. We're now going to move over to the Daugherty County Judicial Circuit. It's a single county circuit consisting only of Daugherty County. They currently have 3 judges. The population is about 93,360. The last time this circuit received a judgeship was in 1992. Their overall workload per judge is about 1,351, and their workload value was 1.8. Interesting about the Daugherty County population is that they've only lost about 40 people since 2017. And as you can see, that they kind of lie in the middle between both the Georgia County average population, but below the circuit population per each judicial circuit. Next to the Douglas Judicial Circuit is also a single county circuit consisting of Douglas County. There's currently 3 judges. The population is about 164,561. The last time they received a judgeship was in 1998, and the average case per judge is 2162, and their workload value is 1.2. Douglas population has grown a little bit out of the 3 circuits that we are looking at today. They have increased roughly about 9.54% since 2017, but also they rest comfortably between the Superior Court Circuit average as well as the Georgia County average in terms of population since then. Chief Justice, I believe that we have all the judges, or at least a representative from each of those circuits that are being considered today. I believe Judge Daniel Craig is here, who's the Chief Judge of Augusta Circuit.
All right. Judge, come forward if you will. Morning, Dan. We'll hear from representatives or the chiefs from each of these respective circuits, and then we will move on to hearing from folks from the holdover circuits, and then we'll move forward from that point. Judge, welcome.
Thank you, Chief Justice and members of the council. The Augusta Circuit needs are somewhat unique, and I almost want to apologize for cutting in line. I know you had some holdover circuits from last year that did not get addressed, and we were not among those, and now it appears that we're second in need in the state. Well, the reason for that is that during the last legislative session, we separated the circuit so that Columbia County is no longer a part of the circuit. And in doing that, we created two divergent trajectories here. That is, our three most senior Superior Court judges were residents of Columbia County, so they are now the judges for the Columbia Circuit, and the junior most judges are residents of Richmond County, and so we're staffing that county, and the trajectory of workload per judge in Columbia County is at 0.9, and might even have a downward trajectory, and in Augusta is 1.4 with an upward trajectory. And so that, together with the fact that we are a large population center, we have a lot of complex litigation that goes on in Augusta, has created a rather urgent need for the people in Augusta to try and add a judgeship to work there. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Judge. Questions? Anyone?
Thank you all.
You did a good job. Thanks, Judge. Appreciate that.
Chief Justice, I believe Chief Judge Willie Lockett is here to speak for Dougherty County.
Welcome, Judge Lockett. It's a long drive from Albany. I hope you didn't come up this morning.
Okay.
All right, good. Well, welcome.
Thank you, Chief Justice and members of the council. I'll try to be brief. There's a lot that could be said. As has been stated, we're a single county circuit. We have about 95,000 population. We have a drug court and a mental health court, both of which were pioneered, of course, by Judge Goss. We have a parental accountability court and alternative dispute resolution program. We have one of those self-help centers that Judge Doyle talked about, and we appreciate your support for that, because it really helps us to assist pro se litigants. There's a huge number of them, and it helps also to reduce the judicial workload to get those cases done and get justice to the unrepresented swiftly and properly. Let me tell you what our concerns are. Of course, we haven't had a judgeship added to the circuit since 1995, when Judge Phipps was appointed by Governor Miller to the Superior Court. And let me just share with you what our concerns are. And I'm going to throw some numbers out there. I'm not a statistician, but I'll just tell you how it looks. 83% of our jail population of 657 consists of pretrial detainees. We have 175 pretrial detainees that have been in confinement for over 2 years awaiting trial. We have over 10,000 pending criminal cases. About 2,300 of those are serious violent felonies under that definition. But in addition to that, we have a number of other violent offenses that don't meet that classification, but that involve gun violence. It's just that didn't result in death, but they're certainly serious in all of our minds. We have 3 or 4 death penalty cases. We have some major gang and RICO cases involving 38 to 40-something defendants. And our concerns are that we need to be able to address the sharp rise in gang and gun-related crimes. We need to be able to help get our pretrial detention ratio much lower than it is now by processing the cases through and doing so in a just and proper way. We need to reduce significantly the delays in getting cases resolved, and we need to address the capital cases which seem to hang around for significant periods of time. I thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I'll be glad to address any questions that you might have about the Dougherty Circuit and why we are asking for an additional Superior Court judge.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions of Judge Lockett?
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Judge.
Chief Justice, next up is Douglas Judicial Circuit. Chief Judge Bo McLean is not here, but Judge Cynthia Adams is here to speak for them.
Good morning, Judge Adams, and welcome.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning to members of the council. For us in Douglas County, the reason that we are before the council asking you to adopt the recommendation made by the Workload Assessment Committee is it comes down to numbers and it comes down to need. You saw the numbers. You saw that in Douglas County with our 3 judges, our last third judge being appointed back in 1998. Currently, we average about 2,100 cases per judge. And of course, in our circuit, we don't do a lot of designating cases to some of our lower courts. And so that causes a bit of an issue for us as well. And what that looks like is as our population has increased in Douglas County, I briefly just looked at the numbers. 1998, we had probably about 89,000 in Douglas County, and of course, as the population increased, we're at about 150,000 now in the county. And of course, as population increases, crimes increase, civil cases increase, and so we are seeing a lot more divorce cases. We're seeing a lot of our family violence cases. And whereas we know some of our counties designate some of those cases to some of the lower courts, we handle those ourselves. And so, of course, that's causing a lot, placing a lot on our 3 Superior Court judges. In addition to that, we're running a drug court, a mental health court, a veterans court, an opioid court, a parental accountability court, and we're hoping to bring online another youthful offenders court. So we're working really hard in order to continue doing the work and the business of the county, but with the 3 judges and the number of cases that we have on our caseload, of course, it is causing a bit of just a heavy lift for the judges that are in our circuit. So we thank the Workload Assessment Committee for the recommendation, and we are asking this council to please adopt that recommendation so that we can add a 4th judge to the circuit. I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Judge Adams?
All right.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you very
with us.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief Justice. That was the last of the new recommendations. We want to go over the existing judgeship recommendations. The existing judgeships, there are 5 that were carryovers from the previous legislative session. The Atlanta Judicial Circuit, Atlantic Judicial Circuit, Clayton, Coweta, and Northern Judicial Circuits. We have representatives from every one of those, first being the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. Chief Judge Christopher Brasher is also a council member.
Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, members of the Judicial Council, for the opportunity to speak to you. I wanted to remind everybody that the last time we were here and doing this, our circuit stepped aside so that other circuits could have an opportunity to get judgeships moved up the list. And that was because the need was significant and it was severe. And so I'm here to ask for you to return the favor. I'm here to ask you to return the favor and to allow our circuit to get another judgeship. We last added a judgeship in the Atlanta Circuit in 2008. That judgeship was not filled until 2010 when then Judge Sean LaGrua was appointed. She was again appointed in 2010 by Governor Perdue. Since her appointment, our population has grown by more than 20%. Our population now is over 1.1 million. In addition to significant population growth, more recently, Fulton County has seen a significant increase in violent crime. And especially relevant to our purpose here today, a marked increase in the types of complex criminal cases that take the most time for judges to handle. So, since 2019 specifically, our court has experienced the following: a 30% increase in murder charges, a 95% increase in aggravated assaults, a 94% increase in robberies, and a 112% increase in gang cases. Now, I'm not here to talk to you about COVID-related cases. We have resources that are being used to deal with backlogs. If I was going to get into the details of COVID backlogs, I'd tell you we have 14,000 unindicted felony cases in Fulton County. And I'd tell you we have 275 defendants in jail awaiting trial for murder, and another 275 awaiting trial for other serious violent felony cases, including 6 death penalty cases pending. But I'm here to tell you not about COVID backlogs. I'm here to tell you about the long-term systemic changes in the criminal justice issues that are facing our county. These patterns are consistent with what we see in large urban cities all over our country. To address these changes, we need more help and we need another judgeship. And so I ask for your consideration in that regard. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Judge Brasher? Good job. Thank you, sir.
Next up, we have the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. That is the Chief Judge Russell, who is not here, but Judge Jay Stewart is here to speak, who's also a council member.
Welcome, Judge Stewart.
Thank you, Chief Justice Boggs. Thank you for being here and the opportunity to speak. At the conclusion of my remark, we're all going to still be friends. And if it were up to me, everybody that's on the list would get a judge. I'd be like Oprah. You get a judge, you get a judge. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I'm in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit down in southeast Georgia, 6 counties, Tattnall, Evans, Bryan, Long, Liberty, and McIntosh. We also have a veterans court, a mental health court, a family accountability court, veterans court, with Fort Stewart being in Liberty County is a significant court in our circuit. But it also, as I mentioned, Tattnall County being in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit, it is the home of 4 prisons. Georgia State Prison, a Category 5 prison, Rogers State Prison, a Category 5 prison, Smith State Prison, a Category 5 prison, and then Long State Prison down in Ludowici. With all due respect, for years, the judges in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit have taken issue, respectfully of course, with the case weight assigned to habeas cases specifically. We lead the state in habeas in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit. In the past, habeas has been valued as a general civil, lumping it in with uncontested divorces and things of that nature. And those of us who handle significant volumes of habeas cases know all well that that simply is inaccurate. The current workload value per judge of 1.2 is based on 44 minutes per habeas case. That is inaccurate. It's simply flawed data. The AOC Research Office recently reevaluated habeas and tripled the wait from 44 minutes to 136 minutes. But since the previous assessment was already completed, the workload value per judge is going to stay at 1.2 based on the 44 minutes. So the 1.2 that's assigned to the Atlantic Judicial Circuit is based on flawed data. And so let me tell you where we are with that. Currently, we have a senior judge who does nothing but habeas in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit and the Waycross Circuit. We also have another senior judge that's handling nothing but criminal cases arising from particularly Smith State Prison. Recently, there was a riot at Smith State Prison. We had 126 criminal cases pending from that one riot, 10 of which were murder cases. Yesterday, a jury was selected, and right now there's a jury trial going on in a murder case, but there's a senior judge being paid with ARPA funds. To put a point on all of this, our circuit shouldn't continue to be penalized due to this administrative policy that's based on flawed data. We are in a crisis in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit because of the habeas that we are dealing with. As far as when we last got a judge, 1986. And that got held up in Brooks litigation. That was Judge Ron. Judge Ron, who has since retired, didn't actually go on the bench until 1995, I believe. Richard, correct me if I'm wrong. As of July the 1st, our circuit has used over $27,000 in ARPA funds just dealing with this issue. The next closest circuit in our district has used half as much. So the work is there. Regardless of the decisions that we make, we'll be back down there trying to deal with it, but we're asking for help. We desperately need a judge, an additional judge in the Atlantic Judicial Circuit, and I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions.
Questions?
Judge, do you know what your assessment would be if you used the new criteria for habeas cases?
I do not.
I bet somebody does.
I'll check my notes. 1.3.
That can't be it.
You're going in the right direction, Judge. Don't worry. Any other questions? And I will tell you, as a former Superior Court judge, I had 3 prisons in my circuit, and I'm glad to see the case weight going to triple what it was. 44 minutes was not an accurate representation of what it takes to dispose of a habeas case. So thank you for that presentation. Very helpful.
Okay. Next, we have the judge. I believe this is yours. Next, we have the Clayton Judicial Circuit. Chief Judge Carter could not be here, but Cynthia Clanton will be taking over for that presentation.
Before she speaks, Judge Carter's been excused, and we're going to ask, she's asked for a written presentation, and we've asked Cynthia to present that to you on her behalf. So, Judge, thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you. You've got a copy of the statement, which looks like this, and it should be in the front of your notebook. And Judge Carter is sorry she could not be here this morning. It says, good morning. Thank you, Judge Leonard, and the entire JWAC committee for the work you've done for our judicial circuits. Thank you to Chief Justice Boggs for providing us with the opportunity to demonstrate support of our respective circuits. To the entire Judicial Council, here's why the Clayton Circuit should at least maintain its current position as number 2 on the list of qualified judgeships. As you may know, based on the data, the Judicial Council has considered throughout the years, by the time the Clayton Circuit received its 5th judge, we already qualified for a 6th judge. The Clayton Circuit qualified for a 6th judgeship in 2018. We first asked to be considered for such an additional judgeship in 2020. Based on the current data, our 5 judges now carry the workload of about 7.3 judges. The workload value per judge for the Clayton Circuit is higher than any other metro Atlanta circuit. Your current data shows that only 1 circuit requested an additional judgeship has a higher workload value per judge than the Clayton Circuit. The same circuit did not have the higher workload value per judge than the Clayton Circuit in 2020. In comparison to that circuit, the Clayton Circuit has a higher workload value per judge, as demonstrated by your data consistently over the years, whereas the other circuit has not. Thus, the need for an additional judgeship in the Clayton Circuit has been substantiated for a much longer period of time and has consistently increased. We have the support of the entire delegation, the chairman of our Board of Commissioners, all the judicial stakeholders and partners, as reflected by the support letters submitted and in your materials. Our infrastructure is already in place in regard to the courthouse. It's built out and equipped with space for the 6th judge and staff. Members of the council, we are the Clayton Circuit, home of the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where the world lands and opportunities take off. Our entire state benefits from us being able to effectively and efficiently handle and move cases. Our caseload and your data support our request that we receive priority placement on your submission of judgeships to the General Assembly. Thank you for your consideration. Chief Justice Geronda Carter.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Okay. Chief Justice, the next we have is Coweta Judicial Circuit. Chief Judge Simpson could not be here, but we believe Judge Hamrick is here to speak on behalf of the circuit.
I am here, but we do want Judge Hamrick to speak
Oh.
for us. Thank
Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay. Not too late.
Good to see you, Chief Judge.
Welcome, Judge Hamrick. Always good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. Good to see you and all the members of the council. I guess I got asked to present because, like Judge Brasher, I kind of asking for a return favor. Until he did that, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do that. So, I will follow his lead. We were number 4 Coweta Circuit last legislative session, and Brian Strickland and Chuck can tell you how unique it is. We had legislators actually pushing us to get us a new judgeship. It was kind of the reverse, and I don't know why they put that on the top of their agenda. It's not usually what a legislator does, in my experience. So they were very eagerly pursuing our 8th judgeship last session. There was a bill, came out of committee, got to the floor, and I got a call from our council that they were concerned we were going to leap over the 3 in front of us, or one of the ones in front of us. And so we went to the senator who was sponsoring the bill and asked him if he was willing to back off so that the ranking system could stay in place, and the concern that we were going to leap over the ones in front of us would be alleviated, which he eventually did agree to do. And so that was what we did or worked on last session, trying to keep your ranking system in place and respect that process. And we're here again, of course, to do that this morning. Our circuit is 5 circuits: Carroll, Hurd, Troop, and Meriwether, and Coweta. Troop County is turning into a manufacturing powerhouse. As we looked at the Chamber of Commerce website, it is home to West Point, which has the big Kia plant that has created lots of jobs in that area. It also has more Fortune 500 companies per capita than any other county in the nation, according to the Chamber of Commerce website. There's also a new manufacturing job plant coming to the circuit, Remington Arms, which apparently that'll be 850 new jobs. Carroll County is home to the University of West Georgia, several major companies, Southwire. It is home to Pete's Court, which a lot of you are familiar with, and gets a lot of benefit from the computer science department at West Georgia, and creates some high-tech jobs. And Coweta County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. From 2000 to 2010, the population grew 42%. And Coweta is a lot of people who live in Coweta work at Delta or in Atlanta, and we get a lot of cases in Coweta County that are hard to keep up with. We also have, I believe, Judge Simpson and I were just talking, 10 accountability courts of all varieties. We try to stay on top of those efforts. So I appreciate you letting us be here this morning, and Judge Palmer, Emery Palmer, was going to be here also, but he's awaiting the birth of his first grandchild this morning, so he would have been here also.
Well, please
there are no questions.
Extend our congratulations and thank you. Any questions of Judge Hamrick? I appreciate your deference to the ranking system, as I do the courtesy extended by the Atlanta Circuit. Any questions? None?
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Judge.
The last circuit that we need to hear from is the Northern Judicial Circuit. I believe Chief Judge Jeffrey Malcolm is here. Chief Judge? Chief Justice?
Good morning, Judge, and welcome.
Good morning, Chief Justice, members of the committee. I don't know what it means when you hear the word "and last." I hear that. Just very briefly, we've been on the list for years.
We are, I guess if you say, a holdover. I look at that, there's a reason. We have the work, we have the need. We carry about 2,093 cases per judge. We have 2 adult accountability courts. We have a PAC court. We cover 5 counties. We used ARPA funds for this year for senior judge monies, and we appreciate that. But we have each scheduled 6 extra trial weeks just for this year. We have 20 trial weeks every year plus. So when you take 26, that's almost 80 weeks between the 3 of us. I'm not really good at asking for help. When you grow up in the generation of the greatest generation under moms and dads that never did, but I'll ask for others. My colleagues work very hard. We all do. I don't know about how many letters of support you got from our people, the ones that I talked to that came. I'm not blaming anybody, but I received notice of it fairly late. I was in a murder trial, and I believe the email I sent out was at 5:30 in the morning because I just don't have time to do it during the day. All of us work hard. I'm not trying to stand up here and say we're anything different. We haven't had a new judge in 26 years. You know, we have 1 state court out of 5 counties. We cover a lot of ground. Here, and you know, but we're rural. You know, we're not the metro folks. I hear all these, you know, the airports and the big companies. Well, Elbert County is the Granite City of the world. Hart County, I guess, is going to be the dog food capital because Purina has poured about $800 million in a distribution facility, one of our counties. And Franklin County, I think we produce more chicken anywhere else in the state. So we're there. We have death penalty case. We're working it, but we need the help also. Any consideration will be appreciated.
Thank you, Judge. Any questions, Judge Mouth? No one wants to ask about dog food. All right.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Or chicken. Thank you.
Chief Justice, we've entered the deliberation phase of the process.
Hey, Chief, may I, before we begin deliberations, may I offer a bit of clarification
Sure.
on one thing? All
Certainly.
right, so with regard to the question that Judge Stewart got, Jeffrey gave an answer to the updated figures. I will just point out Judge Stewart has some inside baseball. He's the chair of our Judicial Needs Assessment Committee, so he's in charge of helping to fine tune all those case weights that will come up for the next time. Those have not yet come out of his committee and to JWAC for approval yet. When they do, they will be in place for the next go-around. And so when Jeffrey gave the number that he gave a minute ago, that includes the 2021 data. That is an accurate number based on the minute value that is presently in place. So when that gets adopted, there will be updated numbers. I am sympathetic with every judge that has a prison in their circuit, and we've been working for some time to get those numbers updated. And so we're glad that everybody has participated in the time and motion study, and glad that we're going to get an increase in that like you, Chief.
Thank
So
you,
I wanted
Judge.
to offer that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for the presentation. One more comment. The 2019 holdovers, this is the last year for consideration for those. Y'all know how that works. So I remind you of that. And indeed, the information for those circuits is static from 2019 when those reports were made. You all know that as well. Judge Jackson, you had a question?
I
too?
did. Just the workload value, is that contained in one of the documents here?
Yes, ma'am.
With all of the workload values for everything that we're considering deliberate today?
That will be coming. Oh, you don't have that slide.
Can we see that at least?
Yeah, we've got a slide. Yeah. See if we can find it.
There should be a slide with all of it on there. We are in the deliberation phase of everything, Chief Justice.
Yeah, hang on a second. We're going to have to excuse a couple of folks, but let me, I thought we'd have that slide presented first, but as we enter the deliberation stage, any judicial council member who is affected by these recommendations can't be present during our deliberations. That applies to Judge Brasher, Judge Baker, and Judge Stewart. They will be escorted out by Shamika. Shamika's in the back. Safe travels home, Judge Stewart. So this is the slide you just asked about?
Yes.
Does that give you what you need?
My heart just
All right,
beats.
let me let them exit, and then we'll.
Mr. Chief?
Yes.
What is you mentioned that these are held static from 2019. What's the?
Not all of them.
But the ones that are
holdovers.
holdovers?
Yes.
What's the reason for not updating that data and considering everybody on the same data?
Jeffrey can answer that for you. We've got, just to make sure you're clear, because it's not reflected here, the holdovers that are in their last year of consideration is the Atlanta Circuit, the Atlantic Circuit, Coweta, and the Northern Circuit. Those are all 2019 studies and reports that were done with case values appropriated at that time. So those are the four. And you can now speak to, if you will, Jeffrey, if you can answer that question.
Okay. There are a number. I am so sorry. There are a number of factors that factor into us doing that. One is our practices that we base it on the year that you were approved by the council for that recommendation. Another is based on an additional recommendation that was provided during COVID that allowed those courts, because technically they would have lost their recommendation last year, but we granted everyone during COVID an additional year just because of the COVID purposes. We knew money was going to be slower. We knew that cases were going to be different. So there's also the consideration of the reduction of 10% that would have cost anyone to lose their judgeship as well. So all those things were waived, as well as just under the best practices of accepting you at the year you were accepted.
So another answer is that it cuts both ways, and some folks that were qualified in 2019 may not be qualified in their third year of consideration. And so everybody's pretty comfortable with going with whatever number they had to begin with, but in some of these circuits, the numbers like Atlantic apparently might have gone up from 1.2 to 1.3. Others might, Douglas, I don't know, I just use that as an example, might have, if you updated their numbers, might be at a 1.1, which takes them under the threshold for consideration. So it's a lot of work that the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee does to put all of this together. One of the reasons for allowing the holdovers is because of the nature of that work and the substance that goes in, the substantive work that goes into that. But that's where we are. That's the system we have. Judge Jackson.
Okay, so it looks like on this slide, Atlanta, not Atlantic. So Atlantic did not get the adjustment that you just mentioned for the habeas cases. We're still using the old number?
Yes, we are, but the difference is 0.3. There are 3 phases that went through. The current preliminary numbers that were utilized, that were sent out to all Superior Court judges in May of 2022, showed that their current was 1.3. And there is a process where the weight was adjusted again during the current phase of JNAC that will be implemented for next year. So it went up from 444 when it was first initiated, then it went to 136, where the preliminary reports that I just said that 1.3 was for their circuit.
Judge Casper.
Chief, real quick, you said there were 4 that are holdovers. Can you say those one more time?
There were 5.
All 5 of the ones listed underneath are holdovers. Okay,
Exactly.
just wanted to make sure.
So it would be, just so everyone is Atlanta, Atlantic, Clayton, Coweta, and Northern, in alphabetical order.
Yep.
Just ask one clarification. I want to make, I know we all take this very seriously for the good of all the circuits. I don't want to delay anything, but make sure I'm absolutely clear. When you look at a place like Dougherty at 1.8 in Albany, when we were looking at the numbers, of course, sometimes you see circuits with a little bit lower number but a higher value. And I just want to make sure I understand, that is often based on the types of cases. So one circuit may have more murder cases, more violent crimes that occupy more time, even though the cases per judge may look a little bit different. That's where the values come from. Is that accurate?
That is correct. In the situation of Dougherty County, they have a lot of serious felony and felony cases, which are the highest case weights that there are. So they are a little higher than normal. When you look at the cases per judges where, you have things like civil review or child support cases or things like that that are lower minute values, but we typically have a lot more of those cases.
Understood. Very, very good point. Other questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Judge.
How many are we allowed to approve?
So here, we're going to take 2 votes.
Okay.
The first vote is to a yes or no vote, simple yes or no, on whether we include the 3 recommended circuits, Augusta, Daugherty, and Douglas, for consideration. Yes or no vote, simple as that. You'll get those ballots in just a moment as soon as we're through with deliberations. Once those come back, you will then take a second vote, and the second vote is to rank then, if you include all three, all 8 of them. And those rankings will be the final vote. So does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
First vote's yes or no on whether we include the 3 recommendations. If we do include the 3, then you will be asked to rank all of them, which would be a total of 8, 1 through 8. We never know whether the legislature is going to approve any, or Fund 1, or Fund 3, or Fund 8. So we'll rank them and then present them in that fashion, and the legislature will decide how many they fund. And if you're fourth and they fund 4, you're in good shape. If you're fourth and they fund 3, like Coweta was last year, you're out of luck. So your job is to rank all of the ones that will be considered, and we start with adding to those that are carryovers.
All right. Chief Justice, could you tell us again which 4 are going to bounce off if?
It's 5.
There's 4 that would bounce off this year. It would be Atlanta, Atlantic, Coweta, and Northern.
Yeah, there's been some confusion. Let me clear this up. So there are 4 holdover circuits that were first considered in 2019 that if not approved this year and not gotten funded this year, will have to start the process over. Those 4 are Atlanta, Atlantic, Coweta, and North. Those are the 4 that were first considered in 2019, and so they're held over. Hope that answers your question. Other questions? Now's your time to ask if anyone has any.
Chief Justice, we gave everyone who's a voting member of the Judicial Council a red pen to use for these ballots. It just shows up better.
I'm going to remind them in a moment how important it is to perfectly fill out your ballots, but before we get to that, any other Judicial Council members have questions or comments that they want to make concerning the 2 votes that we're going to make? First, whether we include all or some of the 3 that have been recommended, and then secondly, what your thoughts are on rankings, which you'll have a ballot on that. If there are no questions from Judicial Council members, I will ask non-Judicial Council members if they want to offer any support or opposition. You can be recognized at this time. I see none. All right. Then with that, we're going to take the first vote, and we're going to ask for you all to vote yes or no with the red pen, and you got to vote on all of them. Incomplete ballots will not be considered. They will be thrown in the trash. That counts for both votes. So you need to tell me if you want all 3 yes or no, and then you need to rank on the second ballot 1 through 8. If you rank 1 through 7, too bad. We're not counting it. You got to rank all of them. And so we're clear.
Mr. Chief Justice, the missing Judicial Council members.
We need to bring them in.
Yeah, we will. I just want to make sure there are no other questions.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, for yes or no vote, is it an all or nothing, or you want us to vote yes or no as to each one?
How do y'all do that?
Each one. The ballot will show.
But you got to
lines
vote
for
on each one of them. You have to vote on each one of them. All right, good question. Anything else? We've had folks in the past, notwithstanding Justice Melton and Justice Namias, telling folks to fill out their ballots that they did not fill out their ballots. So let's not let that happen. All right, let's bring folks back in.
Stephanie, you can go and pass out.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
No. Good job. Yeah, once you have your ballot completed, if you'll just fold it in 2, and we will have those collected in just a moment. And once they're collected and out of the room, they will be tallied, and we will move on with the other business of the committee. We're good? Everybody voted? Judge Mercier, Vice Chief Mercier, she's going to collect the ballots, and if you'll do that at this time, and then they'll exit the room to tally the ballots. Again, this is the first vote. We're going to let her exit. We're going to move on with the agenda, and then we will come back with a report back on that to so you know how many we're considering for ranking purposes for the second vote. All right, wonderful. Thank you all for your cooperation there, and thanks for the presentation, Judge Leonard and Jeffrey. Next, moving to item F in the committee, or in the agenda, we're going to hear from Judge Kelly on the Technology Committee report. Judge Kelly, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. It's an honor to be a co-chair with Justice LaGrua of the Technology Committee. And with the assistance of Ben Luke in the IT department for AOC, they're doing such a great job. I tell you what, I hate to follow the JWAC committee. I was on that committee for numerous years. It's kind of giving me a little PTSD doing with all these numbers. And my heart started racing again, I was on that with Judge Emerson for years and never could get off. And finally, when he retired, I got paroled. And so I appreciate Judge Leonard for taking over that committee. Yeah, technology is so much more interesting. But we, Technology Committee oversees a lot of numerous subcommittees. And as you can see with the JY Committee, it's important that we have good data and good information in Georgia. We have a long ways to go in that. But there's a lot going on, and I'll be real brief here. One of the main things, if you haven't been to the gateway or the website portal, whatever you want to call it, for AOC, there's a lot of information out there. And we are working with subcommittee and with experts to make that website, take all that information, make it a lot easier to navigate for the public. I'm not sure how many people go to that website on a monthly basis, but it's thousands. And a lot of people are just going to see what court they need to go, what address to pay a speeding ticket. Well, that's fine. I mean, whatever the service they need. And we're going to, I think by next year, the team, IT team, will have that website greatly simplified and more be able to navigate it better. Rules is a big part, actually, of technology, because as legislature changes laws and they deal with technology, or we have to go back and change rules. One issue is on protective order registry, and magistrate courts have developed a new form that's being circulated around to their class of courts, dealing with having additional people. Why is that having anything to do with technology? Because the protective order registry goes to GCIC, which is computer-based. And so it gets thrown into our committee, and it's very important. Automated data collection, there's a subcommittee on that. This with doing what they call a NODS. They're going through with the data fields, and they're trying to standardize that so that when we go and try to automate data collection from different classes of courts, that the one field from one class of court is the same field from another class of court, so we can make use of that data. Another subcommittee is dealing with, and they've come up with a rule dealing with file formats of videos. As you think about it, all the different security systems out there, there's probably dozens, if not hundreds, of proprietary systems that show videos. Well, why is that a problem? Because 20 years from now, unless you have a rule that says, hey, you better have a standard format, if you're trying to review that evidence on a habeas or something of that nature, you might not be able to see the video or the evidence. And so we're making sure that there's some standardizations in there. And also on appeal, the Supreme Court can see the video. Lastly, AOC is working on a virtual calendar call. It's a simple tool, and we showed that to Superior Court judges just last week. They were very excited about this to help them and their clerks to do, instead of sending out an email and just trying to organize a bunch of emails, lawyers can respond, and it's a program that basically organizes those emails and gives lawyers a chance to respond to a calendar call virtually, and we're excited about that tool. It'll help, it's not for everyone, but it'll help a lot of folks in the state. Mr. Chief Justice, that's very brief, but my report. If they have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I brought up Ben Luke, who'll really know the answers instead of me. But
thank you, Judge. Any questions, technology questions? Judge Kelly is an example of what happens when you get on one of these committees and you do a good job. You're not allowed to leave. Thank you, Judge. We appreciate your presentation. Thank you for being with us. Next, moving to Judicial COVID-19 Task Force. You have a written report at tab 8. Justice LaGrua and Judge McClellan aren't able to be here today. but I think they've submitted their report in writing, and you have that report. I know they're working on an update to the pandemic bench book, and hope to have that done in a few months. Cheryl Coronis is here if anybody has any questions. Cheryl, does anybody have any questions of Cheryl concerning the Judicial COVID-19 Task Force?
Thank you, Chief Justice. If anyone has any questions, they can come see me later, but Justice LaGrua and Chief Judge McClellan send their regrets and regards, and we will stand on our written report.
Thank you, Cheryl. Next, the Grants Committee, tab 9 in your agenda. Who's going to present that?
It's a written report.
It's a written report found at tab 9. If you have any questions, Cynthia can answer those for you, we hope, concerning the Grants Committee. All right. Strategic Plan Committee found written report submitted on the written report, which is found on at tab 10 of your materials. Any questions we will try to answer on the strategic plan? Why don't we do that? We'll now go to item 7 on the agenda and have Cynthia report on what's going on with AOC. Thank you, Cynthia.
Good morning again. Justices, judges, and judicial branch leaders, July 2022 brought change to our appellate courts with 4 swearing-in ceremonies. Congratulations to new Chief Justice Michael Boggs, new presiding judge Justice Nels Peterson, and new Supreme Court Justice Andrew Penson, and a new Court of Appeals Judge Benjamin Land. The change in leadership at the Supreme Court of Georgia means a change in leadership at the Judicial Council, and we welcome Chief Justice Boggs in his new role. Justice Peterson and Justice Boggs have been called the Thunder and Lightning team, and
no one's ever said who's which.
I know, we're all guessing.
Lightning comes before thunder, right?
Yeah, I know, but I can tell you, we little AOC raindrops look forward to supporting them in their work. Yeah, I know.
That's really sad.
Likewise, many former Judicial Council members recently completed their terms of service, and we extend a warm welcome to several new members today. A special welcome to our new State Bar President, Sally Akins, who will serve for the coming year as a non-voting member of the Judicial Council. President Akins was sworn in by Chief Justice Boggs at the State Bar of Georgia's annual meeting, which was widely attended by many Georgia judges. I have to say we're giving a farewell to our first statewide business court judge, Walt Davis, as this will be his last Judicial Council meeting, albeit on crutches, is it, or some kind of, I'm so sorry. It was a true pleasure working with you on all the many, many Judicial Council committees. Congratulations to you and your staff for establishing such a vibrant new court in record time. Also during the State Bar annual meeting, the Supreme Court Committee on Justice for Children, chaired by Justice Bethel, presented its Hines Awards for the Outstanding Advocacy for Children in Dependency Cases, which was awarded to Hall County DFAC's case manager, Katie Ham, and Child Welfare Law Specialist in SAG in Rockdale County, Attorney Jennifer Klein. The AOC's Office of Governmental and Trial Court Liaison has published its annual summary of enacted legislation, a convenient reference providing summaries of bills and resolutions pertinent to the Georgia judiciary, what they passed during the 2022 session. Copies can be found on our website, and I believe there's some copies at the back table. We tallied the votes you cast at the last general session to determine our 2022 Law Day Art Contest winners. Details of all the winners may be found on our website. Shown here are the first place winners from each of the 4 age groups. We've also got a sampling of artwork in the note cards before you. So don't leave without these. These are great to have. Yeah, Judge Edwards has got his, I know. Several of the winners received their awards in person from one of our local judges, and we thank Chief Judge Bagley, Chief Magistrate Judge Cassandra Kirk, and Judge Maureen Wood for participating in that effort. The students were thrilled. The Judicial Council's Access to Justice Committee led a records restriction clinic in the Southwestern Judicial Circuit in Albany on May 5th, helping many of our fellow Georgians including an aspiring fighter and a future phlebotomist. Another records restriction clinic will be held on August 20th in the Wilcox County, one of Georgia's many legal deserts, where there is only one part-time practicing attorney in the entire county, where our own Judicial Council member, Judge Sean Rhodes, serves as the probate court judge. Also the magistrate court judge, and also the municipal court judge for 2 cities. Oh my goodness. We're coming to meet with you in Abbeville, Judge, so get ready. Once every 4 years, the Child Support Commission conducts an economic study of Georgia's child support guidelines and the corresponding basic child support obligation table. 6 of the Child Support Commission's 15 members are judges, namely the chair, Juvenile Court Judge Michael Key, Superior Court Judges Lisa Colbert, Emery Palmer, and Connie Williford, Juvenile Court Judge Lisa Jones, and Justice LaGrua. Our child support team serves as staff to the commission and has been working in support of the economic study for over a year now. The economist retained to conduct that study will present her findings at a Child Support Commission meeting set for September 30th. Those meetings are open to the public, and meeting information may always be found on the commission website. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and we featured this collage to honor our Asian American judges. Former Justices Carol Hunstein and the late Harris Hines were honored with portraits that were unveiled at the Supreme Court of Georgia in June. Videos of those unveiling ceremonies may be found on the Supreme Court of Georgia's website under the News and Reports section. Senior State Court Judge Ben Studdard has been very busy, recently visiting the Republic of Georgia for the 8th time to support that country's judicial reform efforts. This trip, he was focused on improving the judicial selection process and is pictured here meeting with prosecutors. And the state court judges met for their annual educational training, and I was happy to spend some time with some of those judges pictured here last May. We started a new initiative that we're calling AOC Academy, which provides an opportunity for Judicial Council AOC staffers to observe court operations and courtroom proceedings to enhance their understanding of the needs of courts. Our first cohort of 4 Judicial Council AOC staffers has completed the program, and they visited Superior Court Judge Cynthia Adams, who is here with us today, and Superior Court Judge Ann Harris, who I think I spotted. There she is, hiding out there. Well, hello, Judge Harris. Our next cohort will venture out in mid-August and early September to visit the Columbia Circuit and Okmulgee Circuit. Thank you to all our host judges, but especially to Judge Adams and Judge Harris for being our first guinea pig hosts. Thank you to Fulton County's Chief Probate Court Judge Kenya Johnson, who gave us words of inspiration during our all AOC staff meeting in May. And finally, my report would not be complete without the photos of our adorable Judicial Branch babies. Piedmont Circuit Superior Court Judge Curry Mingledorf is pictured here with his wife. Now, these are his grandchildren, not his children, but they are celebrating their wedding anniversary in the picture. He recently welcomed their 28th and 29th grandchildren, identical twin boys, Ellis Curry Brooks and Owen Joseph Brooks. Shirley Roberts, our AOC staffer working with the Magistrate Court Training Council, welcomed a new grandson, Ryland. ICJE Casey Simple had a little boy, Graham, and here they're both pictured. And our own Judicial Council member, Judge McCrae, this is hot off the press. She's got a brand new grandson. Welcome to little Axel. I'm sure she's got baby pictures, don't you, Judge? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So ask her to see those during the break. The AOC is a service agency for Georgia's judges and a statewide resource. We exist to serve you, the members of the Judicial Council, and our partners. As always, please call on me anytime to support the important work you do each day to improve justice. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Cynthia. Show of hands, how many of you have 28 or 29 grandkids? Thought I'd ask. You never know. I am. This time I'll recognize Judge Mercier to report back on the initial vote from the JWAC committee.
All right, the 3 new judgeship recommendations with regard to Augusta, the vote is yes. With the vote with regard to Dougherty County, the vote is yes. Douglas County, the vote is yes.
Wonderful. Well, as anticipated, each of those circuits is now going to be included in the second vote, which would be the prioritization and ranking, if you will, of all 8. Again, I remind you, you need to rank all 8. Please do so. We're going to hand out, before I do that, let me ask if anyone wants to have any further discussion at this time, now knowing that we have 3 to add to the carryover, folks? All right, no additional discussion, so we'll move on with the vote. They're going to pass out ballots at this time. I'm going to ask you to fill out those ballots, fold them and hold them up when you're ready to have them collected. As soon as the ballots are completed, we're going to take a 10-minute break.
Would it be appropriate to post that one slide that had all the work values out beside?
Sure. We can get that back up for you.
Make sure I don't misremember.
There you go. Oh, even better. You knew what you were dealing with. Has everybody voted? One more? Okay. Is that all of them? All right. Thank you for that. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back for the reports from courts, councils, and the state bar. Thank you. Gentlemen, that's 10 minutes, right? So we're going to move on to item 8 in the agenda, which is materials found at tab 12, which are reports from courts, councils, and state bar, starting with the Supreme Court report. And I submitted a written report and stand on that written report. Next, I'll refer to Chief Judge Brian Rickman for the Court of Appeals.
Only very briefly, Mr. Chief Justice, to our trial court judges, I've said this last time, thank you for all that you're doing. We see the hard work you're putting in. We know that now is a time of a tsunami of cases that you have to deal with, as evidenced by what happened today when we're considering the data. But thank you very much. And past that, your favorite words, Chief Justice Boggs, nothing else to report.
That's alacrity and dispatch, ladies and gentlemen. I like it. Good for you. Thank you. And I echo your comments about our trial courts. Section C here, Statewide Business Court. Judge Davis, welcome in any capacity. Thanks for being with us. We got more comments for you later, but right now your report, please.
Appreciate that. If you'll forgive my lack of alacrity and dispatch for a moment. So our report is August 1st marked our second anniversary of opening our doors. Celebrated, unbeknownst to me, with styrofoam peanuts filling my office. So had to ensure GBA did not walk in and have to clean that up. Which then followed 2 days later with me wheeling in and not being able to navigate through the styrofoam peanuts. Last week also marked Judge Hamrick's appointment. We are excited to bring him on board. This also is, on a personal note, probably, unless something goes horribly wrong, my last meeting. You know, on a truly personal note, the coming into this role, I was excited about the role. I was excited about building something. One of the perspectives I didn't have was how many new friends that I would gain through this job. You know, look around this table, and many of you I didn't know of. And I think the thing I will take with me from this role is just what a special group of people lead our state judiciary. You know, it's much different when you're looking at you from private practice. We've all gone through this, where you're looking up at the bench, but to get to know you personally, to get to spend time with you, to serve on all 21 committees or whatever that I serve on. You know, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you. In my letter to the governor, I described this as the honor of my professional life, and it sounds very sort of, you know, high-minded and a bit trite, but in all seriousness, I will miss the relationships with you all the most of anything. So thank you for allowing me to serve with you, and look forward to having Judge Hamrick on the bench of the business court, and I hope you will support him the way that you have me. So with that, Chief, that'll be all.
Thank you, Judge. Again, I'll have some comments here in a moment, but thank you for your service and for your report. Judge Smith, Council of Superior Court Judges.
Mr. Chief Justice, we stand on our written report.
Wonderful. Judge Bennett, Council of State Court Judges.
We stand on our written report. We sit on our written report.
I like the way this is going. Let's see if Council of Juvenile Court Judges, Judge Hurd.
We will also stand on our written report.
If anybody wasn't before, I bet they do now, but good job. Good job. Thank you. Thank you for your service as well. Council of Probate Court Judges, Sean?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chief Justice will also stand on our report.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And you all have those reports. Council of Magistrate Court Judges, Randy.
Mr. Chief Justice, nothing to report. We stand on our written report.
Thank you, sir. Council of Municipal Court Judges, Judge Baker.
Yes, good morning, Judge. We'll also stand on our written report, and we again extend a hearty congratulations to you. You are truly a model jurist.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. And Sally Akins, my good friend, law school classmate, and State Bar President. Sally, welcome. We're honored to have you join us and look forward to your service for the next year. Do you have a report from the State Bar?
I'm new, and I didn't realize I was supposed to have my written report instead of it.
You know, Mark Twain said it took him 20 minutes to prepare for an extemporaneous speech, so there you go.
I do just have a couple things
Sure.
to share. Thank you, Chief Justice and Cynthia and all the members of the judiciary for welcoming me, and specifically for giving the State Bar of Georgia a place at the table. It's really important, and it means a lot to us. Just a couple things. The State Bar website, which was crashed for a few months, is now up and running. So that's the good news. You can look up members and do all that good stuff. And then the only other thing I wanted to report is that my priorities for the State Bar this year will be a renewed commitment to professionalism, and we're going to have some additional CLEs in conjunction with the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, some kind of signature stuff. And also, we are going to amp up the CLE programming a little bit and modernize it and make some changes there. So I'm here available if anybody has questions, concerns. I'm happy to hear from anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. We really appreciate your willingness to serve the membership of the State Bar, 50-some odd thousand lawyers now, and we really appreciate your willingness to do that and your collaboration with the judiciary in particular, and so thank you for your service. Next, we're going to move to tab 13, which are reports from additional judicial branch agencies. Council of Accountability Court Judges, I saw Taylor earlier. Is Taylor here? Okay.
Stacey May will stand on our written report, but take this opportunity to thank the council for their support of our FY24 budget request.
Thank you, and you're welcome. The Georgia Commission on Dispute Resolution. Carly?
Thank you, sorry. Carly Sells on behalf of Director Tracy Johnson, and we, of course, like everybody else, will stand on our written report.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate your service. Council of Superior Court Clerks has a new clerk, Stacey Harrelson from Harris County.
Yes, Chief Justice, Honorable Stacey Harrelson is the
President.
newly sworn-in council president.
Well, welcome.
Clerk of Superior Court in Harris County. The only other item that we have, 2 days ago, the council hosted the inaugural meeting of the Criminal Case Data Exchange Board. Many of y'all know Senate Bill 441 created that entity. The Judicial Council, AOC, were well represented. Justice LaGrua, Judge Kelly, Judge Emerson, Senior Judge Emerson, Director Clanton, Ben Luke, both of your Superior and State Court Council directors, Shannon Weathers and Bob Bray were present, as well as 10th District TJ Bement. So we had almost 50 people in attendance. Obviously, there is a great deal of interest in criminal case reporting, and that was reflected by that. The only other business, we've made some presentations, and Pete Skandalakis, PAC Executive Director, was elected chair. In the future, we will give you written materials in the packet, but since we held the meeting 2 days ago, we missed the deadline by about a month.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the report, Mr. Holloman. Thank you, Mike, for that report, and welcome, Stacey, Ms. Harrelson. Welcome. With that, we move to the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, and Carlise has submitted her written report, which you'll find in your materials. Next, the Georgia Council on Court Administrators, Lenora Ponzo.
Lenora Hawkins Ponzo. I serve as the Vice President of GCCA. A quick announcement that we will be celebrating our 25th anniversary, September the 10th through the 13th at Jekyll Island, Weston. Our plenary speakers will be our very own Chief Justice Boggs, along with the Dooleys, Vince Dooley and his wife, and we continue to thank the council for their support. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that report and for the invitation to join you. ICJE. Written report has been submitted and is in your materials. Last but not least, and I have checked and ensured that this is not a violation of the Code of Judicial Conduct, but we all want to wish Chuck Boring a happy belated birthday last week, and we have a special presentation for him at this time. Judge Bennett will lead us in a singing of happy birthday.
Complaints are dismissed. Nothing new to report, Chief Justice.
That's a problem, right.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you, Judge. If we could just get you to hit the high notes. Great job. Thank you. And thank you, Chuck, for your report. And next, do we have? Not yet. All right. So now we'll move to item 11 on the agenda, which is the recognition of an outgoing member, Judge Walt Davis, who you've just heard from. Judge, on behalf of the entire Judicial Council, thank you for your service. It is extraordinarily difficult. We recognize how difficult it is to start a project as significant and as impactful as the statewide business court, and that you were willing to leave private practice and to do that says a lot about your character and a lot about your interest in the citizens of this state. I want you to know how appreciative the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court are, how appreciative we are to have you in our building, and wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. But thank you for your service. And we've got a presentment for you, which we will give to you now, and we'll take photographs later. Thank you. You're welcome. On concluding remarks, and before I adjourn us, I'll do the concluding remarks, and then we'll wait on the report back from the JWAC committee. The proposed calendar year 2023 meeting schedule is in your agenda at the bottom of the agenda. We will continue to meet by Zoom in February and next December, and in person for April and August. Staff has originally circulated a proposed date of August the 11th for our next meeting, but we've had to adjust that to August 18th to accommodate for some conflicts that we were unaware of at the time. Our next meeting, general session, will be on Friday, December 9th at 10 a.m. That will be a Zoom-only meeting. After we adjourn, but not yet, but after we adjourn, if all of the Judicial Council members will gather at the wall to...
This wall.
That wall. Okay. That wall for a group photograph, and then we have a box lunch in the other room. Hope you'll stick around for lunch and chat with one another, and I encourage that. Now we're going to have a report back from the JWAC committee on the second vote. Yeah. So I'll recognize Judge Mercier for a report.
All right. The rankings are as follows. Number 1, Doherty. Number 2, Coweta. Number 3, Atlantic. Number 4, Augusta. Number 5, Atlanta. Number 6, Clayton. Number 7, Northern. Number 8, Douglas.
Read it one more time, just so everyone has it, if you don't mind, please.
Number 1, Doherty. Number 2, Coweta. Number 3, Atlantic. Number 4, Augusta. Number 5, Atlanta. Number 6, Clayton. Number 7, Northern. Number 8, Douglas.
Okay, thank you for that report, Judge Mercier, and thank you for your participation in this, and most importantly, thank you to the JWAC committee for all of the work that goes into preparing us for these votes today on both the new eligible circuits and the carryover circuits. With that, we're going to adjourn and assemble for a photograph, and then we're going to have box lunches. They are available in this room to my left, are there seating in there or in here? There's seating in there as well. Is there anything else we need to address? Did I leave anything else? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will now stand adjourned. Thank you for your participation.
Please.
Take care.
Speech taken.